Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Magandang araw sa mga nasa ibang panig ng mundo. Saint Jerome, the great Saint Jerome, who translated the scriptures from Hebrew and Greek to Latin, has this to say about the interpretation of the scriptures. He said, a false interpretation of the scriptures causes that the gospel of the Lord becomes the gospel of humans, or which is worse, of the devil. Thus, there is a need really to understand correctly and interpret correctly the scriptures. And this seems to be the issue of the gospel today. It is not about legalism as usually or at times the case in other instances, but regarding Sabbath, no. It is not about legalism regarding Sabbath, but the proper interpretation of the scriptural legislation about Sabbath in the context of Saint Luke's gospel narrative. Sabbath observance was fundamental to Jewish identity. And so it served as a suitable test of faithfulness to the Lord. Scholars of the Bible point out that the scriptural references of the Sabbath are relatively vague. Those in the Exodus and in Deuteronomy, for example. So the questions regarding interpretations and the appreciation of these command or legislation regarding Sabbath became crucial, contentious. From Jesus' point of view, what the interpretation of the scribes missed was the redemptive dimension and purpose of God to be found in the Sabbath. They saw only as a legislation with the appearance that it is supposed to be a way in honoring God. But Jesus taught a deeper understanding of the Sabbath, or a more authentic Sabbath. Now, an understanding that should lead people to fulfill the good and to allow them to save life. On the contrary, if the law of Sabbath leads one to evil and makes one forget the value of life, then Sabbath would be monstrous. Jesus here provides us an important principle or guideline in life. In a world of confusion and contradictory views and values, sometimes we categorize people between the traditional, the conservative, against the progressive, this political party leaning against the other. It is important to always discern and choose that which promotes life in its fullness. One of the key principles, guidelines that we can learn from Jesus' teaching today. At times we don't know what to follow. Someone says this, another says the contrary. Here one needs to think critically, discern, and pursue that which promotes the common good, that which promotes life. And that was the point precisely of the teaching of Jesus regarding Sabbath. Sabbath is not made just for formality of worshiping God, but it should lead us in doing what is good and lead us to that fullness of life. The great paleontologist, French paleontologist Pierre Teilhard de Chardin said, "How can one preach goodness and love of people without at the same time offering them an interpretation of the world that justifies goodness and love?" Meaning, this is what Jesus provides, not only a kind of teaching, but it is a whole worldview that justifies, teaching that justifies goodness and love. And this is what Jesus offers us, not only a commandment to do good, to love, but provides us a beautiful and meaningful interpretation of the world, a world where God reigns, a world that becomes more meaningful when it is done in the Spirit of God and the spirit of charity and love. As we continue to celebrate this Mass, we ask the Lord to give us the humility to learn from Him and to be open to His worldview to help us grow in the spirit of Christ, not only of commandments, but of His view of life. Amen.